Welcome back to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Milford, and today we haven't had one of the host interviews to see what their favorite fishing techniques and stuff on for a while. So I wanted to do that, and what better way to do that than bring on one of the newest hosts here at Paddle and Fin. We got Dustin Nichols. He came on here. He's going to share some of his favorite bass techniques, and maybe we can get some secrets out of him, some of those Texas bass.
All right, man. Glad to join you on this segment here, and man, we're gonna dive right in, and I'll try and share some of the stuff I like. I'm not gonna give away too much. Nah, I'm kidding. We always like to help other anglers out here too in Texas. We got a couple of local trails that we kind of use that as a benefit to kind of share some knowledge and stuff like that. So it's always a plus for people just starting out to kind of help. It's a good thing. Good thing going on. Good thing.
Well, let's start out. Like, what's one of your favorite techniques that you like to use?
Man, no matter what time of year, man, if I could throw top water, I'd throw top water all the time. I would. I just love that explosiveness of the reaction strikes and the strikes you get and all that. But
Dude, top water hits are awesome.
Yeah, no matter it be a frog or if you got schooling fish, shad spawn and they're busting shad, and you throwing like a walking bait or something like a Berkeley drift walker or something. Those things are excellent baits, to throw when the conditions present themselves in the right way. But yeah, I love power fishing, man. I like to get after it and move and punch baits. I like, if I can find scattered coontail or hydrilla, I like to throw chatterbaits and slow roll it through the grass and kind of let the grass hang up on the grass and just kind of twitch it out real quick. And usually them fish are going to slam it coming out like that. And that's a good technique, after the spawn, when they're fry garters and stuff, and there's bluegill bedding and they're trying to eat the bass fry and then stuff like that. I kind of like power fishing. That's kind of my go-to, like punching hydrilla mats and with little creature baits and then just covering water like that, and then then the chatterbait. I've everybody's like chatterbait, vibrating jig, whatever. But man, that thing's come in clutch a lot of times for me. So that's probably, burning a chatterbait. You can do it so many ways. You can kind of yo-yo it in the grass. You can, you can just, work weed lines down reeds or anything, and you can fish it in the heavier like matted grass and stuff too along the edge. The kind of clumps here and there, kind of rip it through the submergent stuff. So, a chatterbait you can do a lot with. So I actually like that.
Yeah. Man, I've yet to get a fish on a chatterbait. Granted, I haven't used it a whole lot, but my very first episode with Paddle and Fin, I interviewed Brad, and he gave tips on chatterbait, and I've been using the stuff that he said, and I'm not saying he's wrong or anything. He's had success doing what he's done and all that, but man, for the life of me, I just can't get him to hit it. I've tried like along rock walls. I've tried it around wood structure. Mm-hmm. Used it in muddy water because they say like that vibration will kind of bring them. But man, I tried a couple different colors. I just had a hard time with it.
Yeah, and I just like to target the riprap and the any kind of like bulkheads. Or I throw it along the boat docks along the bank and stuff. I've had good success doing that, but my favorite is that submergent vegetation, fishing over the top of hydrilla beds or fishing it through coontail grass and all that kind of stuff. If you can find some grass, that's where I feel it shines also.
And see, I don't see a whole lot of grass in the areas that I fish, but I also. I would assume a lot of that like deeper grass, you got to have like a decent fish finder. Maybe that would help finding stuff.
Yes.
And, I haven't got that yet, but I should have one pretty soon. So I'm excited about that. I'm finally going to be able to see what's on the bottom. Maybe see a couple fish. I got to figure out how to use the thing first. But
it's a big help to have a good graph, a good fish finder with the down scan capabilities or side scan. I started out with a little Garmin Striker 4 Pro, and just kind of started from there. I knew enough about fish finders from fishing in bass boats back when I was younger to kind of understand again, kind of reprogram it and change the settings for what a kayak, because you're actually covering water a little slower, so you got to tweak some settings, and all of them are different. Ray Marine, Garmin, Lowrance, Humminbird, they're all different. You all got to tweak a little bit tweak stuff a little bit differently. So yeah, that's a big plus to have a good graph and be able to pick up the grass and then the color changes for the type of bottom. Because there's a lot of lakes you'll be able to find shell, like the freshwater mussels by color. You kind of learn that bottom color change on your graph, and you can kind of know when you're across a shell bed. And for some reason, man, over here on some lakes over here, the fish gravitate to those shell beds. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, is that something that's pretty, like what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, is that something that's pretty common like throughout the country, or is that something like
pretty... I would think it comes into play on other bodies of water too. I know some tournaments here and there I've watched, through Bassmaster or FLW. They'll some of the guys will target the shell beds and stuff and be throwing hair jigs or some Carolina rig or something over that. Yeah, so it's common to have those in other bodies of water throughout the nation, I'm sure.
All right. Yeah, I really don't know the bodies of water that I fish too well. I'm slowly picking up on it, and I'm sure I'll learn it a lot better once I get me a decent fish finder. But
yeah, just
blank.
Fish finder. That's a big plus. I mean, because when you're a bank fisherman and you're just walking around, you just kind of targeting lay downs and stuff like that if you can access some bodies of water by the bank. But being in that kayak, you're out there, you're covering more water, and it's just a plus if you haven't really been on that body of water before in a boat. You say fishing from a boat with a fish finder and kind of know some spots, or going online, and it's you can also use those on the Bassmasters website. They has Navionics maps on there of a lot of lakes, or you can go to the Navionics actually website, and they have the topographic maps and all that you can kind of check out too ahead of time before you go fish on them lakes, and kind of look at some of the bottom contour and structure. And a lot of times it does have the submergent or emergent grass labeled into sections.
See, something I have been trying to do lately is I got Navionics on my phone, and I've been kind of trying to check that out. I'm still trying to figure a lot of the stuff on it out. But that's pretty cool. I can pretty much show you, it shows like the water depth in certain places and stuff. That's going to change based on rain and all that, but it gives you a general idea.
Yes, it does. Depending on, certain reservoirs, raise and lower the levels, depending on summer pool and winter pool levels. You can give or take some 3 to 5 foot or so, something like that. But yeah, that's when I first started bass fishing out of a kayak, I had that little small Garmin, and I'd have my phone out, marking, on the Navionics, just like you said. I'd have the Navionics on my phone up on a little holder, on my console, and I'd have that little Garmin, which didn't have lake maps on it. All it did was have a line, so I couldn't read the depth changes either. I could just see it on the graph itself on the fish finder portion, but the map portion of that Garmin starting out, I didn't have any of. I just it did have GPS capability, but it didn't load maps. You just had a line to trace. So you could actually mark waypoints and still find them. So that's what I would do. I'd go find the water I wanted to find, and find the ledge, or find the just the area I wanted to be in and mark. But the Navionics on the phone definitely helped out. So if you don't have a if you're just starting out and you're just using a smaller Garmin or Humminbird or something, that Navionics app does come in handy. That's for sure.
Yeah, what I ended up ordering is the Lowrance Hook 2 4X.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cheaper, but it definitely going to be better than what I got now.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it. Got to get it all set up when it comes in. But yeah, so right now with it getting cooler, I think y'all stay a little warmer out there in Texas, but
yes, sir.
Being a little cooler right now, where are you finding the bass right now? Or
I fished Friday morning. I went and pre-fished a lake. We have a tournament coming up this next weekend. It's a Toads for Toys. It's a charity tournament, toy drive tournament. And Dirty H fishing team out of Houston's putting it on the lake, Lake Fayette, which is a power plant lake. So water temperature the other day there was 63 degrees, which is we had a pretty hardcore Arctic blast this week at the beginning of the week. It was down around 29 or 30 degrees up there, and had frost 2 or 3 nights, So that's a pretty good blast for this time of year. But I was finding fish earlier in the morning. It was kind of slow. It was the high barometric pressure was pretty high. I went out to target some humps. There was some water in the 13 to 15 foot range. It was surrounded by some deeper water, and I found some little humps. And I was throwing a drop shot, which is not one of my favorite ways to fish because it's slow, tedious. I got the patience to do it. I'd rather fish shallow with a weightless Senko than throw a drop shot deep. But that's the way I found the fish. I was throwing a Ned rig. I threw a little finesse jig with a pocket crawl trailer and caught a few fish doing that, dragging it real slow also. That was earlier in the morning. Yes.
I've never used a drop shot before, but I saw some on Instagram the other day that was kind of a play on a drop shot that I'm probably going to end up trying because I thought it looked pretty cool, and it's pretty simple too. They took an offset hook and put a split ring on the eye, and then took a drop shot weight and put it on that split ring, and just rig it up like that.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that before? I'd never seen anybody do that before.
I guess it's almost like the Tokyo rig would be something a little bit similar, being that it does have a little split ring with a little swivel with a little wire that's about 4 inches long that you just stick a couple bullet weights on there and just and it bend it upwards, and it's got it's got the kind of same deal. It's about 4 inches off the bottom, kind of something similar to that. But no, I hadn't heard just to go in a split ring straight to a drop shot weight.
I thought it was pretty cool.
What is it? Swagger has some that kind of like you slide your line through the little ring and it kind of pinches down on it, so you can kind of move it, or you lose your weight sometimes instead of losing your hook and everything. I like VMC has some hooks that I like to use for drop shot. I don't really. Man, if I find them deep like that, sometimes I'm going to throw that little finesse jig. I'd rather fish that than that drop shot. But sometimes, the bite dictates what you're going to throw. Like a Nico rig, I like to throw that too. Have you had a chance to experience that? It's a wacky rigged Senko, and then use a nail weight on the head of it where it kind of pops upright, it kind of stays upright.
Yeah, I haven't used it. Jackson Orr, when I interviewed him, he touched on it some.
Yeah.
I can't remember how in depth he went on it, but he was explaining it basically a wacky rig with the nail in there, and it's kind of a faster way of fishing a wacky rig.
Yeah, and you can get it down deeper too, and I fished it in 12, 13 foot of water and done pretty good with it. have fun with that one sometimes. I fish that one just a little bit faster than that drop shot. But yeah, most of the time I'm gonna drag a Carolina rig, or I like some little finesse jigs they take a little longer to get down than them big heavy football jigs, but sometimes they want that smaller presentation this time of year. They're being picky. They were being picky. They were being picky the other day. I had 7 bites all day, landed 5. I did land 5 fish. The biggest was 20 1/4.
That's a good day for me.
Yeah, I think I had 80 little. I think I had right at 86 inches, which is tough. I don't know that lake. I get in the mid 90s sometimes. It's just this time of year. It's tough. We had a rollover. The lake rolled over in September from the summertime. That water temp's in the upper 90s sometimes. Because it is a power plant lake.
Oh yeah,
and they're generating heat from the exchangers at the cooling towers at the plant for the discharge, and they're drawing it back in. So it's a lot hotter at the discharge that time of year. But they had a small fish kill. Mainly, there's a lot of shad and tilapia, bluegill, but there was some bass found. That had passed, and that does affect the lake a little bit. So
yeah, definitely. But one thing, just off the top of my head, when you're saying that, is it sounds like a lot of the bait fish were killed. So it's you said some bass died, but if it wasn't a great amount, how good was the bite after that? Because it seems like it'd be harder for them to find food if a lot of bait fish were killed.
I know it was fishing better a couple weeks ago. I haven't fished it since, I think the last time I fished it was in June. So
it's been a while.
I fished it in May and June for a couple of the monthly challenges, try to get some numbers up in there and qualify for that KBF national championship. So yeah.
Oh man, I wish that I would have at least signed up for KBF this year and did monthly challenges and tried my best just to get into that, because Gunnersville, it's like 2.5 hours away from me or something like that, and so that would have been pretty cool. Be pretty close to home.
I'm excited to go over there. Like I said, I fished my first monthly challenge in May, and I went out on Fayette and put up like 95.75 inches like the first day I went and fished. And that was my first monthly challenge I'd ever done. I've really just started bass tournaments last year in January. I'd been saltwater tournaments all the time, saltwater, chasing redfish in the marsh and everything. That's my segment, by the way, on Paddle and Fin is chasing the tide. And I was big time saltwater, always been loved bass fishing though. That's, when I was 10, 11, 12, that's all I did, ride around the neighborhood ponds and fish. And I always watch, Roland Martin in the mornings, Jimmy Houston, Hank Parker, all them outdoor shows. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be pro bass fisherman when I get older. And then it's like, no, what happened? Oh, went in the Marine Corps. Didn't get to make the big shots on the TV on the Bass Pro Tour and all that, whatever. But it's a good time though, man. I like chasing the fish, but like I said, I did fish that monthly challenge in May, and then I happened to have a couple other tournaments around Texas and put up some pretty good fish, and was able to finish 4th and qualify my first time doing a monthly challenge, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I had a couple good fish that month. I still didn't do great. I had like 104 or 105 inches and still got 4th, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know it's been a while. Do you happen to remember what first had?
I think it was 112.
Yeah. So that's like an average of 23 inches.
Oh yeah.
Or no, just under 23.
Yeah, because I had a 22 and a half, a couple 21 and a halves on the board for that one. and it was, and I was like, man, I was all stoked. I had some good fish, and it's just like, man, this one guy, Derek Miller, and then this kid Brian Howell. That Brian Howell won the Hobie Bass Open on fork or second. No, he got second, right? He won the
I'm not sure.
He won the trail, one of them. Yeah, he's been a kid that's came on real strong in Texas. He moved here from California. He'd be a good kid to have on here. One of that young generation too, man. He's been fishing really good over here.
Yeah, might have to get him on here sometime.
Yeah, he's done real well.
What you were saying about, like, being a kid, being like, I want to be a professional bass fisherman and all that. Man, I really don't think, even if I was good enough, I don't think I'd want to do that. Like, as a kid, stuff like that's cool. Like,
yeah.
I used to, I still pick around on guitar and stuff like that now and then, but I used to play it like every day when I was a teenager, and it's like, oh, I want to get a rock band and, get famous, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, when you get older and, you're faced with reality and all that, like, like with me, as far as what I was saying with the fishing thing, I feel like that would kind of kill my love for the sport, is, having to do it in order to get a paycheck. Like, got to perform well, or
you got to put in the work, man. Yeah, it's definitely putting in some work on that side of it too. Not only do you fish that, you got all the obligations to all your sponsors, and and they're pretty busy also. And I mean, a lot of them have their family with them on the road or whatever, RVs, which is cool too. But man, they put in a lot of work. That's me. I never thought I'd be, representing, Jackson. I fish for Jackson Kayak or Jackson Adventures. I never thought I'd be running around and having sponsors and trying to do stuff too. Luckily, I came up through surfing and skateboarding, and I had sponsors, and I have a couple that carried over with me to fishing. I have a company that supported me for a while called Fuel Clothing Co. They make some pretty sweet socks and crazy socks and hats and sweatshirts, and they hooked me up. Shane that owns has always been good to me, my surfing and skateboarding days, and he doesn't mind me crossing over and still throwing some hashtags his way and stuff for the fishing.
Right on. Yeah, I'm still out of the whole sponsor game. Maybe in the future, but I don't want to be. I'll if I'm gonna do that, I'm the type, I'm gonna go all out with it, or like I'm gonna do a good job advertising for whoever I'm sponsor or pro staff with, whatever you want.
Right.
So I don't want one where it's like they'll take pretty much anybody and here's 10-15%.
Yeah, I don't want that. Give you a discount code and all that kind of stuff. I want to be for somebody just starting out and just trying to get into something like that. It's got to be something for me. It's got to be something I've already used and it's tried and true. Like Jackson, I was already fishing out of Jackson's for a couple of years, and that's what I had stuck with. Or that's with baits, and this company Caden Lures hooks me up with some soft plastic saltwater side, and I had been using some of their stuff and tried it out, and I was like, man, these things work. I can handle representing this. It's not that. Same thing with the rods I use. They're built locally, and I fish with Waterloos forever. And it's like, man, I wouldn't just jump on a bandwagon just because they're offering me a 20% off code, and just so I can have that badge on my sleeve. I'd rather, represent somebody that I've already used, a product I've already used and know that works well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like Jig Masters that sponsor of our show. Like I love representing them, with the show and everything, because I use their jigs. I like the jigs. I've caught my personal best off of it. I've caught several other fish off of it. I know they work good quality and all that. So, something like that, I like, but like you said, I ain't gonna just to say that I've got a sponsor. I'm not gonna just take anybody,
Right. I know a lot of people. There's a lot of them out there that do that. They're just like, if I'm putting somebody up on my, sending something out and recommended something, this is something I've used and it's tried and true. I'm not going to throw some smoke and mirrors up. I don't agree with that. But man,
we've talked about it in Paddle and Fin before.
Yeah.
There are certain scenarios where, that kind of sponsorship is okay. Like if you're traveling around and doing a bunch of tournaments and stuff like that, that 10, 15, 20% adds up over time when you're using that product quite a bit. But for me, for now, I'm just a fun fisherman. I'm planning on doing some tournaments next year.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's not really worth it to me.
Yeah, just like you're saying, traveling around doing tournaments, and then like you're just gonna get started. Start at that grassroots, that local tournament level. There's a lot of Facebook groups of some of the clubs that'll have their local tournaments, and they'll be smaller, and that's just good to get your feet wet in. That's a good thing because just like me, I mean, I'll go fish some of the local trails too, and really have enjoyed the camaraderie and the visiting with everybody, and then if you do well and stuff, I know on some of the stuff when I was fishing last year, the guys, they'll share, hey man, I was doing this, or I caught them on a chatterbait over deep grass, or I was punching hydrilla, I was working, they were all on dead wood, they wasn't on the good stuff, and everybody tries to share some stuff to a certain degree. Not everybody's going to give away all their secrets, but most everybody's pretty open to helping some of the new people out. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and I did plan on doing that. I was planning on trying to work in, we got a KBFTN here around the Nashville area.
Uh-huh.
And I planned on, trying to get to some of those. And then I was wanting to hit the KBF, I believe it's called the Southeastern region.
Mm-hmm.
With all the tournaments are within like 4.5 hours from me. One in Georgia, one in Knoxville, one up on Kentucky Lake, and then close it down in Wheeler.
Well, Steve Owens was just on the show with the Tennessee Valley Kayak Anglers. Is that the one? KA? Is there's some events close by to you on that trail also?
No, I think he was. I think he was in Chattanooga.
He's Chattanooga. It's a little further.
Yeah, I'm closer to Nashville. I'm about 40 miles south of Nashville. So the closest one to me is KBFTN. They do events on Percy Priest Lake and Old Hickory. From what I saw, that's the two lakes they kind of stick around. But they are kind of affiliated with the I forget his name, the guy you just mentioned. Yeah, but they are Steve kind of Owens. Affiliated with that. From what I got from it, they all come together at the end of the year and do like a state championship between them and several other clubs.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's one thing I can say to all the new anglers out there just getting into kayak bass fishing is just find that local club, man, and get in on that camaraderie, and that's what it's all about, meet new friends and hanging out, and then you can go on and jump up to the next level and start, getting a little more confident in your fishing and hanging out, and then you carpool with everybody and go to tournaments a little bit further out, and you kind of move up. That's part of it. Growing, just like the growth of kayak vision starts grassroots. It does. And I can't say enough about those local clubs, man.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for that. I definitely want to start meeting more anglers in my area, so I definitely want to hit up those local clubs. Maybe meet some friends there, have more fishing buddies.
Oh yeah. And
might learn a thing or two from that.
Yep, more time on the water Just like everything else, you know, you're going to
if the wife
play football, you're going to practice, and it's just like you're going to fish. You get more time on the water. It's better for you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just love fishing, man.
I feel you. I suck at it, but I love it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not called catching. I know they say that all the time, but that's exactly. I mean, there's days. Yesterday in you know, I had a rough day in the tournament, saltwater tournament yesterday. I had a pretty rough day. Decided not to fish my local area, which is about 3 hours from the weigh-in. I would have had to make a long haul, but I had a little less fishing time. But I was on some pretty good speckled trout where I would have been in the running for like the big trout pot. It was a flounder tournament, 2 flounder, little flat fish with 2 eyes on one side, ugly little boogers, but they taste really good. But we chose to fish a section of the marsh that was, you know, that had been really productive for my friend, my teammate I usually fish redfish tournaments with. And then, man, the fish just, I caught undersized redfish. I caught some flounder that were undersized. They just weren't there like they had been. The tide was abnormally low. It kind of was about a foot lower than projected. So it kind of drained a little more of the areas I wanted to target a little faster than what we would have liked. So, man, it's humbling. Fishing is humbling sometimes. No matter how experienced an angler you are, starting out to a professional. I mean, them guys they get humbled sometimes. I mean, it don't always go your way, you know. But then you have those magical days that it's just like, man, you can't do nothing wrong. It's just they jumping in the kayak with you.
I don't know if I've had any of those days yet. You know, I should be about due mine. You know.
It'll happen. It will happen. It will happen.
You know, I've been doing pretty good here for a while now. And then a couple of weeks ago, I went out to a spot that, you know, I'd been doing really good at, and I got like 1 bite all day, and I didn't get any fish in the boat, and it really frustrated me. And I usually go like every other week, and but last weekend, I told my wife, like, I need to go fishing. I need to get back out there and redeem myself. Yeah. And I actually ended up catching my new personal best smallmouth, which I haven't caught many smallmouth, so it wasn't anything, you know, crazy. It was like a 17-incher. But
that's awesome.
The best part about it was the fight, because I caught it on a Ned rig.
Yes.
Medium light rod with 6-pound test.
Oh yeah.
And dude, this thing was going crazy.
It's in some current in a river with a little bit of current, because man, or was it in a area lake?
It was in a river. There wasn't a whole lot of current in that river. But one of the best parts is I'm right up against this rock wall, and I'm right at this curve, this pretty sharp curve, and there was a boat coming pretty quick, about to come around that curve. And when they got up to the curve and they saw me, they slowed down real quick. And I turned and I looked at him, and that's about the time he grabbed it and took off running with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I set the hook, and that dude sit there and watched me reel in this fish. And man, that pole was just bent over. Running all under my kayak and everything.
Oh,
I finally got him up there and netted him. And that dude started talking to me and everything. So I don't know. It's a cool experience, you know, fun fight and everything. Only my second fish ever on a Ned rig. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good bait this time of year. I didn't throw one of those the other day, and I probably should have been throwing one of those, creeping it along. Those are good baits this time of year. I like to downsize just a little bit, yeah. But yeah, I speaking of smallmouth, like you were talking about, the fight of them fish was insane. I got to catch some last year in October. I was up in Tennessee around the Rock Island State Park, around near the Jackson Kayak Factory, and went up for the dealer summit, hang out, and have some good times up there, and got to catch targeted some rock ledges and stuff with a jig, and man, just them fish are ferocious, man. Them things they fight. You know, we do have some in Texas. I just hadn't had the chance to catch any. There's some around the San Marcos area. I know there's some in OHIV. We fished up there. I had planned on fishing the tournament up there this year, and then some stuff happened with work and couldn't make it. But while we were there, my buddy caught a 19.5-inch smallmouth there.
Nice.
Those fish have taken in well to that lake. I know the guy at the lodge we were at was saying that there had been many, 5-6 pounders weighed in at tournaments, earlier in the year, which is crazy for Texas Lake to have some solid smallmouth like that.
I could only imagine a big smallmouth on that setup that I caught that one on.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would be crazy.
Yeah, he thought he had a 6 or 7 pound bigger largemouth when he hooked up to that smallmouth. That one was probably almost 3.5 or 4 pounds. It was pretty big to me because I'd never seen one that big, in person. Because I was just like, oh man.
Yeah, dude, and they fight like crazy.
Yes,
it seems like a lot of the time when I catch a largemouth, there's not a whole lot of fight to it. You can pretty much just reel it in. Which, granted, I'm not usually using that little finesse setup.
Yeah.
But man, that thing there, it was running left, right, up, down, everywhere. It was a lot of fun.
Have you got a chance to have you caught a fish on a frog yet?
I've had some hits on a frog. I've never actually got a fish from it.
Yeah, there's some that's one of my favorite ways to catch fish.
Man, it seems to be everybody's favorite way to catch fish.
It's one of them. I love them catching them anyways. Like I said, I like to power fish with a worm and Texas rig, punch rig, chatterbait. But man, if I can get early morning frog bites with some over them mats and they just come up and blow up through it, man, I love that. I like the walking frogs where I can work them like a topwater and kind of walk the dog with them. The more kill style body frog, I like those. But man, there's this one. It's not called a frog. It's Strike King. It's a KVD popping perch. It's the pipsqueak one. It's the small one. It's a smaller profile, and it doesn't have the little streamers like the streamer legs like a frog. It's got just little rubber skirt like a tail on it, but it's got the cupped mouth, and it's a smaller profile, and there's a color called brown gill. It's like a green pumpkinish brown bluegill with little orange on it. Man, I absolutely crushed them on that bait this year. Pretty much everywhere I fished it. In Florida, I fished it down there around the St. Marks River and stuff, and I was crushing them there. Every evening we were catching, 15, 20 fish, and, the last hour before the sun went down, just all frog bites, all crazy. So, yeah, stick with it, man. That's a very exciting way to fish. And, that little small one, I don't know what it is about that bait, but I caught a 22.5 this year on it. I caught a 23.75, and I caught a 24.5 on that little pipsqueak popping perch. I don't know what it is about that smaller bait in the little openings in the grass, but they were just killing it.
I'll tell you what, let's dive a little deeper into that, because I haven't had anybody on here talking about frog fishing that I can remember. So let's dig a little deeper on that. So let's start up with the setup you throw it on. Rod, reel, line, all that good stuff.
I throw it on this is 7.6 Mag 4. It's a Waterloo Rod Company. They're based out of Victoria, Texas, where I live. It's medium heavy. It's got a little bit of tip on it, but a lot of backbone. I throw it on a Lew's BB1 Pro 8.3 to 1 with 65-pound braid, so you can horse them out of that cover. So a lot, yeah, either 50 or 60. Sometimes with that pipsqueak popping perch, I'll throw it on 50-pound braid. It's a little smaller profile, little smaller diameter line, cast a little better than that 65-pound. Yeah, I like and I'm a big fan. I like to target my areas where I think the fish are going to be. Say like the openings in the grass mats or beside like a down tree or something. And then I like that high speed reel to burn it back to me fast, to get it back so I can make more casts instead of that slower reel retrieve where it takes you a little while to get your bait back. But also you can with that higher speed, you can get them up and get them on top of the water and get them out of that vegetation quicker and get them up and out, because a lot of times those bass just try to bury deeper back into that grass once you pin them, and they can come unstuck, So I like that higher speed reel definitely. And then I'll also tell you that a lot of times you'll have missed blow-ups, popping that frog and that fish will miss it. A lot of times I'll drop that rod. I'll have a spinning rod ready with a wacky rig Cinco and throw it right there where I'll miss that fish, and I'll catch that fish with that backup rig. So I'll remember that. That's a big plus too.
Brad Hicks has talked about doing that before with top water. Have another setup sitting there. If you miss that fish, toss that in there. But all right, tell me this. To my knowledge, in the areas that I fish, I've never really found a whole lot of grass.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple like small patches that are like, maybe a few inches of water with grass sticking out. But for the most part, I haven't seen a whole lot of grass. So what with a frog, where should I be targeting? Like, should I even use a frog when I don't really have a lot of grass, or should?
Yeah, you can find anytime there's like any lay downs or something in the water. Do y'all have cattails that grow up out of the water? Reeds? Y'all have any of that?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's some somewhere around here, but
any lily pads?
Mm-mm.
None. Yeah, no. It's more like rocks and cliff structures and stuff like that, huh?
Man, it's pretty much, just we got rock, we got a lot of wood structure around the banks and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Top water, I'm usually throwing. I know people are tired of hearing me talk about this, but I'm usually throwing a whopper plopper, and just toss it up to the bank and reel it back. And
any kind of structure like down timber or trees or stumps sticking out. I've done with a frog down bulkheads like by boat docks and stuff, and the bulkheads sticking out. That too. Same thing. You can burn that whopper plopper down that just as easy, or a buzz bait. Same thing. It just if you get a chance to get down to Guntersville, then you'll see some grass down there.
Yeah, I need to go down there. I've never been very good at bass fishing, so I've never been able to justify traveling to go fish when I can't even find fish around me. So, since I've been starting to do better this year, hopefully I'll continue to grow next year. Maybe I'll be able to go make a trip somewhere like Guntersville since I'm so close.
Yeah.
How are you working a frog? Are you just like give it little pops, or?
Yeah, it depends on which style of frog I'm throwing. Like the Snag Proof makes some pretty cool ones that have more of a keel body shape that you can actually twitch them like a walking bait and make them zigzag, walk the dog back and forth. And I fish those in open water, like around no structure sometimes, and do pretty well with those. Then you have some more that are like the heavier bodied, that you'll fish on like the thicker mats. And actually those, I don't even twitch the rod tip. I just use little quick action, like a quarter reel turn or like a quarter reel turn, little jerks. Use the reel to drag that bait and pop that bait along like it's hopping along that grass mat. And then the ones I like, the Booyah popping pad crasher, and then those KVD popping perch. River to Sea has a good popping frog. Those you're going to twitch the rod tip just like you're twitching a popar, like a chug bait. You're just going to twitch and pause and twitch and pause. Sometimes they like it with a longer pause and like the openings of the grass. It's all dependent on how the fish are feeding. But most of the time I'm going to be, targeting areas that has some floating vegetation, duckweed, mats of hydrilla growing up, stuff like that. I'll be looking in between lily pads, along the edge of lily pads. Yeah, timber. And then you'll be able to just, twitch and pause, twitch, pause on them popping frogs, or if you're dragging across the thicker stuff, you'll use your reel just to twitch it with the reel. Little short quarter turns of that reel will bring it along top of that matted grass.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to find me some grass and get better with that. I know that lake I mentioned earlier, Old Hickory. I've never actually fished it before, but I've talked to several guys that fish it, and one guy in particular that I work with, or I should say used to work with. I'm in a different area now, but he does a lot of tournaments out there, or at least he used to, and he would win or do at least do really good out there with throwing a frog on grass. So I know they got grass out there.
Got grass there. Yeah, that's the best way to go get after that, is find that vegetation and start experimenting with it. Look, I give a shout out to Tactical Bass, and those guys. Watch some of those YouTube videos. They're really good and informative on all that stuff. If you're not familiar with the technique, head on over to that Tactical Bass and YouTube channel and search through their videos, and you'll find it, because them guys cover a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I really like their YouTube. I actually need to reach out to them. Maybe I can get them to come on here.
Yeah, get them come on the show, dude. That would be awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, it really would. I do have maybe one or two other YouTubers that might be having lined up pretty soon. So
sweet.
That I don't want to drop names just in case it falls through, but I'm hoping that everything works out. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
frog fishing. It gets your heart going, boy.
It might be the wrong time of year to do an episode on frog fishing, but people put it in their pocket for when it gets a little warmer.
Yeah, it's finesse baits and stuff. I caught a couple on spinnerbait the other day. I'll throw a spinnerbait a lot in the fall and early, like this time of year when they're trying to fatten up on shad, get ready for that real cold push of winter. And I'll throw a spinnerbait because you can cover water. You can rule out water pretty quick with that right there.
And man, I've still never caught a fish on a spinnerbait before.
Oh man, you got to throw one of them, dude. I've
tried and I can't. Are you supposed to just continuously reel it, or you just let it hit the ground and reel a little bit and let it?
Depending on the water depth and all that, I'll change, my speed of my retrieve sometimes, and depending on what I'm targeting, the edge of like a grass line or bulkheads or docks, or like skipping under docks and reeling it out. Or the other day I was catching them in like 5 to 7 foot of water. I caught 3 of my fish the other day on the Ned rig, but I caught the other 2 on the spinnerbait. Spinnerbait, I had done really good at that lake last year, this time of year, on just a plain white spinnerbait, man. And I just hammered them for a couple months on that, leading up to a couple tournaments in January. Fishing the same time, November and December, water temp was about the same. And then those same areas where the fish just move, they move around a lot anyways. And I pulled 2 fish out there, which I missed. I had 2 more bites. So 4 of my bites came on the spinnerbait, and I caught 2 of those 4 bites. Yeah.
Man, I think one of my issues with the spinnerbait is, I'm cheap, and so I buy everything cheap. So all my spinnerbaits that I have are the $1 spinnerbaits from Walmart. So,
a cheaper spinnerbait you can get is the Strike King, the Hack Attack. I think they're only like $2.99 or $3.29. They're not that bad. Yeah, I'll throw them all day.
Yeah, I need to. I'm slowly getting into better quality things, so that might be something that I get into, eventually, maybe by spring. I'm just slowly upgrading stuff and getting a little bit better gear.
Yeah,
getting on up there.
Oh yeah. Hey, you got to start somewhere though, and it's like, just make yourself one day take 2 rods. Take a rod with a spinnerbait and take a rod with like a Texas rig worm and make yourself fish for that all day long.
Man,
figure it out. Yeah,
I've had this conversation before. People say that, but it's like I get to go fishing like once every 2 weeks.
Right? Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. So when I do get to go out, I don't want to set myself up for failure by throwing something that I've never thrown before. That's one of my biggest issues right there.
Oh man. So yeah, I work shift work. I work a crazy rotating schedule. So I actually fish when I get off of graveyards in the morning and then come home and sleep, 3-4 hours and then go back to work. So I'm lucky. I get days off during the week. A lot. So
you get the lake to yourself.
Yeah, I get the lake and the bay and the marsh and everything to myself sometimes. Granted, you don't see that a lot here. You don't get everything to yourself all the time, but there is less pressure during the week being out there on the water. I think there was only 5 other trailers at the ramp the other morning when I fished, and that was a Friday morning too. That was pretty slow day on that lake. Right. But yeah, it's a plus to be on the water more. So
yeah, maybe when my kids get a little older, I'll be able to, make a little more time for getting on the water.
Yeah, well, yeah, family's important.
Yeah, and they're still young, 10 and 5.
Yeah. The 5-year-old. The thing that helps me big time is that my daughter is 10, but she goes to the same school that my wife teaches at still. So that's makes it a little easier. And there's a lot of times where I'll come home and then make sure she's off, and then I'll leave after that. But like a lot of times if I'm going to fish saltwater, like I could launch my kayak 5 minutes from my job site where I work. I mean, I could be in the water in 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's real close.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty close to some decent areas where I work at, but I live like 45 minutes from my work. So
that's me. I'm 45 minutes commute from my job. So it's a lot easier for me to fish over there instead of coming home, loading up and going back. It's easier for me to take my stuff to work at night and then fish in the morning. And then, a lot of times I'll plan it out where I can get back and get her lunch and do whatever. But, you gotta take a break from the fishing every now and then to focus on the family.
Yeah, definitely. My next kayak, I want to get something where I can like put my son in it,
Yeah.
Take him out there with me. Hopefully he won't give me a hook in the face.
Yeah. My daughters want me to get a bite, one of the smaller jackets. Yeah. And get her on the water too. She's paddled my Liska a couple times, but I think that bite would be a little better for her.
Yeah, I've thought about, my daughter, she's the 10-year-old, and I've thought about, getting her a little something where she can go out with me. My son's 5, so he's not really big enough, I don't think, to get his own kayak. But if I could get a bigger kayak with more room, I might be able to put him in there with me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun. She likes to fish. She outfished me the last time we went. Put a spanking on her.
Yeah. Was that that made you feel ashamed, or did it make you was a proud dad moment?
No, it's proud dad. We both had our rods out. I mean, we were throwing, like night crawlers.
Yeah.
Catching, shell cracker, red ear sunfish, and small channel cats. But she was putting a spanking on me. She got her own rod. I mean, I had her a rod, had her own rod made. It's pink with turquoise wraps on the guides, and it's got the titanium recoils. It's a nice little 6-foot rod. I mean, I could use it throwing soft plastics in for the saltwater side.
Man, she's set up.
A little HP light. Oh yeah, she's still got a little push button. She got to figure it all out. She likes to go. Certain times. Every now and then. All right, Dad, we need to go. We need to go to the lake, Coletto. We're about 20 minutes from Coletto Creek Reservoir. That's my closest lake I can fish. And that's it's another little power plant lake near my hometown here where I live in Texas, and it's pretty fun. There's a little pier we can take her out on, and she likes to fish. She's not quite putting her own worms on her hook yet and all that. Yeah, but she still wants to get out there. she wants to get out there. That's cool. She wants to get out there.
Yeah, that's really awesome there.
Man, bass fishing, man, it's just fun. Something about them green fish. You know, I do like my saltwater, but you know, as a kid, that's all I did was bass fish. Like I said, I'd run around from pond to pond, and you could ride my bike everywhere, and then that was the deal, catching those bass and making want to break that PB. I want to get one bigger. And that's how it is now. I just want to chase, and my kayak PB is a little over 9 pounds. So I want to get one bigger than that. My biggest fish is a 13.2.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I caught that one when I was young on a wild shiner. We had some wild shiners in one of our ponds that we would target. So we catch them on a bread ball, and then fishing some reeds in the back of this small lake. It's probably only about 40 acres. And just saw her she was spawning, you know, sitting on a bed, and I'd anchor that shiner on that bed, and she swallowed that whole shiner sideways, you know. So it's like I always want to. I don't know if I'm ever going to top that on a kayak.
I bet that would be a fun fight.
Ooh, man.
Might go on a little bit of a sleigh ride.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's, you know, I didn't realize that bass fishing on a kayak was this big. You know, I've been kayak fishing for 6 or 7 years, and I just really started bass fishing on a kayak last year in January. So in 2018, it's almost 2 years I've been bass fishing, like really hardcore, you know.
Yeah.
I had bass fish all my life. I just didn't realize it was that big on the kayak side of things, man, until
it's blown up.
It's blown up, and it's just growing and growing. I mean, and here we see it here too on the coast too. On the saltwater side of things, it's the same way. I mean, there's 3 different trails for redfish trails here.
I'll tell you what, dude. When it was like when I first started bass fishing about 6 years ago. You know, within the first year or two, the buddy of mine that took me bass fishing for the first time, you know, we went in his boat, but he had a couple kayaks too, and he's like, "Let's go hit the creek sometime in the kayaks." I was like, I think it was already a year or two in. I done bought myself a John boat with a trolling motor, and I was like, why would I want to go out on a kayak when I got a boat with a trolling motor? You know, and I'm lazy. I don't want to have to do manual work to get myself to go. You know, I can hit a button and go.
Yeah.
But I never ended up going with them. I think I told them that I would, but for some reason we never ended up going. But man, I wish I would have been able to go back then and got into it sooner, because, dude, I've only been kayaking for this is my 2nd year. So yeah, and I've just fallen in love with it. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's awesome being that close to the action. I mean, you know, you never know when that fish is following your bait all the way back to your kayak, and it just decides to slam that top water right in front of your face. You're like, yes, right there. Yeah.
Yes. I missed a fish earlier this year where it came up to hit the whopper plopper as soon as I lifted it out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be a good fish. I almost guarantee it was a 5 or 6 pounder.
Oh man. Oh yeah, that's fun when they come up like that. Woo.
It's
in there hot. They fresh right there, so they're gonna. Yeah.
It soaked me when it splashed.
Oh, I imagine.
But hey, man, I appreciate you coming on here and everything. Start wrapping it up.
Right on, man. Yeah, it's good times, man. It's always a plus to talk about fishing and fishing out of a kayak.
Oh yeah, and welcome to the team, man. You know.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be real interesting to hear more saltwater type stuff on paddle and fin now.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I got some guests lined up. I'm gonna try to get some stuff going. Might be having some international guests on there. I'm trying to reach out to some people over across the pond there. Hopefully we're gonna do it because them guys are nuts. But I have some good guests coming up, man. I got couple good guys that transition just like me back and forth from saltwater to bass fishing. So there'll be some good insight on that, and it should be good deal coming up. I'm stoked to be on the team. It's a good deal. We got a full schedule of shows that covers pretty much everything anybody wants to listen to.
Oh man, we got everything. You know, if you're into kayak fishing at all, you know, we got something for you here on Paddle and Fin.
Paddle and Fin Network. Yeah, it's what it is now. There's a show almost every day of the week now.
At least through the work week.
Yeah, through the work week. Yeah.
Every now and then we got a weekend episode pops up.
Yeah, you got windshield time. You're sitting in that car seat driving, got a long trip. You do like me. You're driving to a tournament or driving to work. You know, like you, I'm 45-minute drive. Man, I'll pop in them fresh podcasts, you know, listen to everybody, what everybody's got going on, man. There's some good stuff out there, a lot of knowledge. And, you know, I mean, if I just help one person from what I said tonight, I know, you know, I might not be the best bass fisherman out there, but, you know, any little thing can help. So if I help one person tonight, I'm happy with that.
I feel you. That, you know, that's my segment. I enjoy it because I get to learn, and I also, you know, feel like, you know, I'm helping other people too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
But
cool, man.
But yeah, y'all check out Dustin every other Wednesday on his segment here on Paddle and Fin, and hear about some saltwater fishing, some things they got going on out there in Texas and wherever else his guests are when he interviews them and all that. Yep. You want to go through the motions and shout out sponsors and all that good stuff?
Nah, we don't have to do all that. I just want to thank. I'll thank. You know, Jay and everybody, Brian, bringing me on, man. I'm stoked to be part of the team. I'm happy for everybody bring me on. You know, and just thanks for that. You know, it's all good, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, brother.
Cool deal, man. Cool deal. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming on and everything. But yeah, everybody. Appreciate you listening. Tight lines, smooth paddling.